Anyone who has ever laced up a pair of sneakers knows the grind of fighting for a roster spot and how sickening it is when a coach hands that jersey to his own kid instead. It's a betrayal of the game. Whether it's Pee Wee League, high school, varsity, the collegiate level, or the big leagues, it stinks. If we are keeping it 100, the only reason folks aren't tearing LeBron apart is his superstar status. They are terrified of the King's influence, scared he might cut off their access or deny them those precious Lakers tickets. It is fear, plain and simple. But sports analyst Rob Parker, he didn't just throw a jab at LeBron James, he went for the knockout. Parker absolutely went off. And the reason this topic is setting the internet on fire is because it hits the one sacred rule every diehard fan believes in: you have to earn your stripes. When Parker called out the James family for blatant nepotism, he did not mince words. He voiced the quiet frustration that millions had been feeling but were too intimidated to whisper. The moment Bronny's name was called on draft night, he instantly became the global face of special treatment in professional athletics. So let's get real for a second. If that jersey said anything other than James on the back, would Bronny be anywhere near an NBA court? Smash that like button if you agree, and let me know your honest thoughts below. This is wild. Even in the corporate world, handing jobs to family members is frowned upon. I will lead the charge here. What Danny Ainge is doing, it is not a good look. Nepotism undermines everything. Major corporations ban it for a reason. It is toxic. I do not think the Utah Jazz should be employing Ainge's son either. I am putting that on the record. But in sports, where physical merit is everything, Parker's take hits different. It is a harsh truth. Nepotism cheats the game. It is corrupt at the youth level, corrupt in prep school, corrupt in the NCAA, and absolutely corrupt in the NBA. The only reason the media treats LeBron with kid gloves regarding Bronny is because LeBron is arguably the most powerful figure in the sport. Everyone is walking on eggshells, terrified of being blacklisted or losing their press credentials. Whether they admit it or not, that intimidation factor dictates the narrative around LeBron way more than his loyalists want to believe. Look at Michael Jordan. The man actually owned a franchise. He had total control, yet he never forced his sons onto the Hornets roster. He knew better. Bronny is simply not up to par, and the stats proved he was not ready for the pros. He is a fringe prospect on his best day. Parker's comparison cuts deep because Jordan had the ultimate authority to make it happen, and he chose integrity. He didn't do it. Then you have Jerry Jones, owner of the Cowboys. He could have easily suited up his kids and claimed they were just depth players, but he refrained. Why? Because once you cross that sacred boundary in elite competition, you destroy the concept of fairness and replace it with privilege. That is why the Bronny experiment feels so different from a CEO hiring his nephew in the mailroom. If this were literally any other father, if this wasn't King James, he would be the laughingstock of the league for trying to force his son into the NBA. Remember the circus when Urban Meyer tried to sign Tim Tebow as a tight end? That was his buddy, his neighbor. The locker room revolted. They basically said, hell no, he can't play. There are 20 college kids who are actual tight ends and deserve that spot. And guess what? Tebow got cut because it was not justifiable. Bronny's situation feels eerily similar. The tape shows he is not ready. He looked out of his depth. He is a borderline talent right now. I am not going to sit here and pretend this is normal. It is not the same as a family business. If I own a corner store, sure, I can hire who I want. But the NBA isn't a mom and pop shop. Parker called it from day one. This kind of favoritism stains the game. Unless you privately own the whole operation, merit should be the only currency. Now, the apologists love to scream, he was only the 55th pick, as if that makes it okay. But hold on, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more truth bombs like this. That argument actually highlights the issue. Second rounders almost never get guaranteed contracts. They don't get multi-year safety nets. They don't get the red carpet. Bronny James did. Not because he dominated the Pac-12, but because of his DNA. That isn't hating. That is just looking at the facts. People bring up the scary cardiac arrest incident, and obviously we are all incredibly thankful he is alive and healthy. But that is separate from basketball. Readiness. Even before that health scare, Bronny wasn't setting the world on fire. He wasn't taking over games. He didn't show flashes of being an NBA caliber guard. And when he stepped onto the pro court, he looked rattled, hesitant, and completely lost in the sauce. That isn't development. That is throwing a kid into the deep end with weights on his ankles. Yet, get this, a Western Conference executive reportedly told Athlon Sports that they actually expect Bronny to be a regular rotation piece next year. We are talking 10 to 15 minutes a night. They are hyping up his offseason growth from Summer League all the way through the regular season. So, despite what our eyes tell us, the expectation is that Bronny is going to be logging serious minutes with the Lakers next season. What do you think? Is this development or delusion? Let me know in the comments. Bronny James became the absolute poster boy for the nepotism controversy the second his name was called. But the real fire starter? It was the leaks that followed. An executive out west dropped a bombshell to Athlon Sports. Expect Bronny to be a legitimate rotation piece next year, clocking anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes a night. That is the exact moment the fan base stopped giving LeBron a pass. We aren't talking about a feel-good father-son moment anymore. We're talking about handing meaningful game time to an unproven rookie on a franchise that supposedly has championship aspirations. Before we dive deeper into this mess, make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Now, here is where the double standard gets tricky. Right around the draft, the Utah Jazz brought Danny Ainge's son Austin into a high-ranking front office gig. Rob Parker called that out as nepotism, and rightfully so. But let's be real about the massive distinction everyone seems to gloss over. Austin Ainge isn't eating up minutes on the hardwood. He isn't physically standing in the way of an athlete who has grinded their entire life for a single shot at the pros. Front office favoritism is shady, sure, but on-court nepotism messes with the actual integrity of the game, people's paychecks, and competitive fairness. This is why sports are sacred. Since breaking the color barrier, the game has been the ultimate prove-it ground. You can't fake a jump shot. You can't hide in the corner when the whistle blows. If you don't belong out there, the world sees it in high definition. That is why this saga rubs actual hoopers, legends, and diehard fans the wrong way. Rob Parker also ripped the bandage off a topic nobody wants to touch, the LeBron fear factor. King James's influence dictates the narrative. Reporters are terrified to lose access. Analysts water down their opinions. No one wants to be blacklisted as a LeBron hater. But with the King approaching the twilight of his career, the truth is finally starting to leak out. And the timing makes perfect sense. Listen, this isn't about bashing Bronny. It's about saving the kid from public humiliation. If LeBron truly prioritized his son's long-term success, the advice would have been simple: stay in school. Develop your game, dominate the G League, earn the jersey, because the NBA does not wait for you to figure it out. It chews you up and spits you out. The frightening part? This might just be the beginning. If LeBron can force one unprepared son onto a roster, what happens when Bryce is eligible? If he isn't ready either, the public backlash is going to be 10 times worse. It shifts the conversation from opportunity to straight up entitlement. Rob Parker voiced what the silent majority is thinking. Nepotism in athletics just hits different. It feels grimy. And when it places a player on the floor who is clearly out of his depth, it is a slap in the face to every guy who had to scratch and claw for that uniform. LeBron didn't just open a door, he pushed his son under a microscope that magnified every flaw. That might be the biggest tragedy here. And hey, if you're agreeing with this take so far, drop a like on the video. This situation exposes the gap between casual viewers and those who know the game. The locker room is a sanctuary of truth. Pros know who can play and who is a charity case. You cannot hide behind a famous surname once the game starts. When unearned minutes are handed out, it breeds toxic resentment, even if the vets keep their mouths shut. And that bitterness isn't just about Bronny. It ripples out to the hungry young talent fighting for their livelihoods, the undrafted grinders, the second rounders, the G League warriors who are one lucky break away from changing their family's life. When a roster spot is burned on influence rather than production, you are literally stealing a dream from someone else. People love to say, oh, the 55th pick is useless anyway. Stop it. That is a lazy excuse. Every seat on the bench counts. Every 10-day contract counts. Every second of playing time matters, especially for guys on the fringe. The NBA is a business, not a daycare. It is the apex of basketball, and lowering the bar for anyone devalues the entire league. And let's keep it I 100% honest, Bronny didn't help his own cause when he actually got the minutes. This was his chance to silence the critics. Weak draft class, zero expectations, yet he looked lost, timid, and hesitant. That isn't growth. That is getting exposed on national TV. That is why the just be patient crowd is dead wrong. You develop in college. You grind in the G League. You don't use NBA regulation games as your personal practice facility. Throwing him to the Wolves didn't help the Lakers win, and it certainly didn't help Bronny's confidence. The Lakers front office screams about chasing banners. They claim the future is now, but their actions contradict their press conferences. You cannot preach about championship standards and then hand out rotation minutes as family favors. That is not the DNA of a winning organization. This is exactly why the Michael Jordan comparison never dies. MJ had the clout, he had the billions, he owned the team, and he never pulled a stunt like this. That speaks volumes. Sometimes, the best way to support your kid is to look them in the eye and say, you aren't ready. The most disturbing aspect of this entire circus is the silence, the media dancing around the issue, and the selective outrage. If this were anyone else, would have triggered a full-blown crisis for any other franchise. But since it involves King James, the media turns a blind eye. That hypocrisy is exactly why supporters are losing their minds. Now, let us be clear. This does not mean Bronny lacks the potential to shine in the association. Given enough time, proper coaching, and actual game reps, he could evolve into a legitimate rotation piece. However, that status is something you have to fight for, not have handed to you. You cannot bypass the grind of professional basketball without facing the backlash. Like his take or hate it, Rob Parker ripped the Band-Aid off and started an awkward but essential dialogue. Athletics are built on a simple foundation: competition. They're defined by merit, and the moment you muddy those waters, the spirit of the sport dies. We have to ask ourselves, does the league still prioritize grit and grinding? Or does the pedigree on your birth certificate carry more weight than your jump shot? This scenario is tragic because it traps the kid in a nightmare scenario. If he bricks a shot, the critics scream he is unworthy. But if he balls out, haters will claim it is only because of his father's influence. It is a raw deal for a rookie. And that is precisely why fast-tracking his career was a tactical error from day one. LeBron has built his brand on doing things the right way, focusing on hard work and owning your mistakes. That is why this move feels so contradictory to the fans. When you sit on the throne as the face of the sport, your actions set the standard, intentionally or not. There is also a dangerous precedent the executives need to consider. If the audience starts thinking contracts are gifts rather than rewards, credibility vanishes. And when credibility dies, the on-court product becomes a joke. We watch because we believe the elite of the elite are battling it out. The backlash against nepotism is not born from jealousy or bitterness. People despise it because it hits too close to home. We have all seen a qualified candidate get sidelined while watching the boss's favorite snatch an opportunity they did not earn. That resentment does not fade just because the name on the uniform is legendary. Ultimately, this is not a hit piece on the young man. It is about defending the sanctity of basketball. If we stop treating competition as holy, the league transforms into a scripted reality show, and nobody is tuning in for that nonsense. But that is just my take, and I need to hear yours. Do you believe the rookie truly secured his spot on the roster, or is this the most blatant example of family privilege we have ever seen? Sound off with your opinions in the comments section below. Smash that like button if you want unfiltered sports analysis, and make sure to subscribe to the channel, because we will continue to speak the truth, no matter who gets offended. No fear, no bias, just facts.